Hey everybody, how you doing? Hopefully you're having a great weekend. One of my favorite things to do on the weekend is to take advantage of the markets being closed, just go through a bunch of charts and get a really focused watch list or buy list ready to go for the next week. It really helps me in my trading, and I find that about 75% of trades that I enter are from the work that I do on the weekends. So, some things can come and go from the list during the week, but usually those names are the ones that I'll be watching the most closely for the next week. So, I wanted to share a few of those with you in this weekend's video. Let's start here with the SPY. This is the S&P 500 ETF. We broke above this downtrend line from January, the week before last, and above this 270, 271 range. That was pretty important in my opinion. So last week we didn't move much, but we did hold those levels. So that's a positive. And then the big story of the week is small caps. This is IWM Russell 2000 Index ETF. We broke to all-time highs last Wednesday and got some follow-through Thursday and held those levels Friday. So small caps, very bullish, a good sign for the market in general. So let's look at some individual names that are catching my eye this weekend. First one here, XCRA. This one, I don't know what was going on here, but it traded in a really tight range for over a year. You can see this period here up until this year where it really started rocketing. Here in March through mid-April had a huge run, gave some back in May, and then has had a nice run from May, and then it's kind of consolidating here. So really powerful name, huge volume on these up days. So might not be ready yet, but I'm watching this consolidate, see how maybe it needs to give a little bit more back. But as soon as it starts breaking up out of its consolidation, this is one that would definitely uh, have some potential as a nice trade in my opinion. So one I'm keeping my eye on here, XCRA. Next one is FRAC. I actually entered this one last week, but it's still actionable here in my opinion, so I'm going to include it. So it had this nice breakout out of this. There's the 1625 or so. It's resistance here and here. It's making higher lows. I entered it there a little bit early perhaps, but it worked out okay because Thursday got that big run, and then Friday started to give some back. So above this 1625 or so level, I think this one looks pretty good. Um, Energy name with some big time growth numbers. So we'll see if we can get a little run out of this one. This is another one I entered Friday and alerted members out at ttptrading.com. Court, I've been watching the chart. It's kind of shaping up, and then Friday we got a pop. I look to trade against a horizontal level typically. So here it would be the 1820 level. It broke this downtrend line from February, and it got above that 1820 level. So this is a trade that I entered last Friday. Still looks actionable. If it gets below, we'll call it, a buck or so lower, I would not be interested in it anymore. But right here, it looks like a pretty good potential. So Crocs, this thing's just been a beast. I mean, look at this uptrend since the last year. In May, it was trading down at $6. Now it's up to 16. It's given us another opportunity to enter here. It's just been consolidating those recent gains nicely. And as you can see, last Friday kind of broke that downtrend line. So the horizontal level here, in my opinion, would be about 16, 25 or so. If it could stay above that, this trade has some nice potential. So that's another one that's on my radar. Another one here is so I trade some breakouts and I trade a lot of pullbacks to support. Basically, what I look for in any trade is the risk reward favorable, meaning the first thing you look at is the risk. So when I look at a chart, my first question is, where's my stop going to be? So here it's pretty obvious. ENPH, Enphase Energy, it had this area here. We'll call it 525. It was resistance here, resistance here, resistance here a little bit. Then it popped above it. Now it has this really shallow pullback right into it. So if this starts acting as support, as it has a good chance of doing, nothing's guaranteed. But this would be a good level to trade against if it starts showing signs of bouncing a little bit. And you can put your stop. I don't put my stops too tight. I usually give them a little bit of room in an uptrending stock, which this one is. So you could put your stop a little bit below this yellow, and you know what your risk is going into the trade. And more importantly, if it's in an uptrend and it showed that it can break through this key level, it has a good chance at continuing up. So, like I said, nothing's guaranteed, so you got to make sure you manage your risk. But I do like this one; it's on my radar for next week. Another one here that's not quite ready, but it may be at some point next week is Grubhub. It's kind of just consolidating and basing. The horizontal level here I'd be looking for would be about 105 or so. If it can, get above that, it would break this downtrend line, break above that 105 level. This one might be ready and might trigger a trade for me. So one I'm keeping an eye on. GE is one that I I entered some calls down here, and I've sold half, but I still have the other half, and they don't expire till June. But the reason I wanted to put this in the video is there's this huge level here, 15, 15, 15, 15, 20 or so. This one's had a nice run. Well, first of all, you have to recognize it's in a long-term downtrend. So typically I don't advocate buying stocks in long-term downtrends. It's just, there's other options out there. You might as well go where the wind's at your back. But I do like this setup here, and I do think we can get another pop and run out of it. If it can clear this 15 area, I'll call it, I think we can get a nice run and a dollar or two higher pretty quickly. So one to keep an eye on. Kind of has, a inverse head and shoulders look here, over that area. Here's a shoulder, head, shoulder. So, the measured move of that would be, from the bottom here to there. So that's about $2. So if it breaks through 15, it may, the measured move would say it would move to about 17. So, who knows if it hits that or if it even breaks out, but this is definitely one to put on your radar. Next one is IQ. This is a newer issue, but it kind of choppy to start. It had a big gains and gave almost all of them back, and then had a really nice couple of days here in early May, and now it's kind of pulling back into that level. So if it gets a little bouncy here around 20, it kind of breaks this, downward consolidation, this would be a nice risk reward, in my opinion, to enter this. You see these two huge up days, so there's some demand for this. So if we can start getting some bounce to the upside, it might be one that would trigger an entry for me. Last one here, EEM. This is one to put on my a potential short trade. So it broke this. There's this down uptrend line here. Going back to 2016. I don't put too much weight in lines like this because they're so. I could turn off my computer and draw this line again, and it's going to come to a different point. Sometimes I typically draw them from the closing prices. Sometimes I draw them from the top or the bottom of the wicks. But anyway, it's important to draw these trend lines because they show change in the character of a stock. So, if it shows signs that it can bounce off this, it doesn't have to be the exact price, but it's kind of more of a level, kind of like I draw support and resistance. I draw them in levels, not an exact price, because I kind of try to monitor just the character of the stock. So the character of this is it's been in a big uptrend, but now, it broke below this 40-week moving average, that big bearish candle last week. So it's just kind of consolidating. If it pops above this line in consolidation, could probably get moving pretty quick to the upside. But one thing to watch out for here is if it gets below this, 40, we'll call it 40, maybe, $45 or so, this one could get scooting to the downside. So just something different there. You can trade this one with options, or there's inverse ETFs. EUM is the inverse of the EEM, but just something I'll be watching. Nothing that's actionable right now, but something that will be on my list for next week. So hopefully you found these helpful and got you some ideas for next week. But feel free to reach out on Twitter, StockTwits, and if you're interested in membership, it's myself and CJ Agresta at ttptrading.com. We work really hard to find the best setups and trade reviews, watch lists, etc. for our members. So hope you're having a great weekend and have a good week ahead. Take care. Thank you.